Hello, Alva.
How are you, Alva? I'm very well. How are you?
Wonderful.
Good, good, good. You're looking wonderful as ever.
I'm all ready to go to work.
Yes. We're all ready for you as well. Now, first of all, I just want to say thank you, Bob, for joining us live from LA. You've given up your valuable time. I know you've got your seminar, The Science of Getting Rich, which started yesterday. How's it all going?
Oh, it's going great.
Yeah.
You know, we're streaming into over 70 countries.
Fantastic. Wow.
Yeah, we have a few thousand people on streaming in 70 countries.
Okay.
The seminar's going very well.
Good.
And how are you doing there?
We're doing great. We're doing great. We got started just over an hour ago, and everybody's here, eager to hear from you, aren't you guys?
Yeah.
Good, good, good. So, Bob, I've just been talking about self-image and becoming the star of your movie. That's what my seminar is about this afternoon. And there's a lot of people eager to hear from you about what you have to say on self-image and why it's so important to act like the person we want to become.
Well, you know, that has been taught for thousands of years. You're taught to work from the inside out, but we're programmed to work from the outside in. As little children, we're trained to let the outside world control us. And I think we have to try and get away from that. Let me read you something that I was reading this morning. It says, you must imagine yourself right into the state of your fulfilled desire. Now stop and think of what your imagination is. Your imagination is one of your higher faculties. Do you know, you and I are the only creature on the planet that is totally disoriented in our environment. All the other little creatures on the planet, they blend in with their environment. They're completely at home in their environment. We're totally disoriented in our environment. And that is because we've been given the mental faculties to create our own environment. The problem is we've never been taught how to use them. You know, you talk about self-image. Our self-image is formed before we ever go to school. Our self-image is a genetic thing. That's why we look so much like our relatives. And then we're the product of our environment. Colonel Menninger from the Menninger Foundation in Topeka, Kansas one time said, environment is more important than heredity. If you cannot see yourself doing something, you're not even going to try. You may put a little effort into it, but not much. You have to begin to image in your mind exactly what you want. When I stood on that platform last night, and when I go there again this morning, I started doing that in my mind when I was shy and very quiet and withdrawn. And through studying, my image of who I am and what I am kept shifting and began to change. If a person would study themselves, they couldn't possibly have anything but a phenomenal picture of themselves. And I'm not talking about ego. I'm talking about a healthy respect for who you are. Think of this for a moment. The blood in your body circulates through hundreds of miles of passageway. Every 33 seconds, it carries all the food in and all the garbage out in one sweeping change. If you think of your brain, it's an electronic switching station. By activating brain cells, you can alter the vibration of any part of your body. We have everything you see around you, the chairs, the tables, the lights, the room that you're in, is all an expression of somebody's self-image. They saw themselves doing it, and then they did it. So when you start talking about self-image, you're talking about what kind of a picture do you have of you. And I have found that we grow up wondering and worried about what other people think of us. We've got to get to the point where we don't really care what other people think of us. We've got to be very concerned what we think of ourselves. And again, I'm not talking about ego. I'm talking about a healthy respect for who and what we are. And every time we raise the bar of self-image just a little bit, our whole life changes. Do you know, Elpa, when I was 26, I was introduced to this book. It's Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. I had never read a book in my life. I had 2 months high school. I had no business experience. But the man that gave me the book, he said, Bob, Napoleon Hill spent his whole life putting this book together. He studied 500 of the world's most brilliant people. He said it would be a very wise move on your part if you spent the rest of your life attempting to understand and apply what he wrote in this book. And you know, that's exactly what I've done. I started to change how I saw me, who I thought I was. And like that, my world started to change.
That's fantastic, Bob. And tell me, if somebody's thinking about investing into results,
Beg your pardon?
if somebody's thinking about investing into results and doing the program, but still can't quite make a decision for whatever reason that may be, they have money worries, or they don't have the time, or they think that this program is not for them, what would you say to them?
Well, let me read you something here. People don't shy away from making a decision because they don't have enough money. You always find the money for what you really want to do. Always. There's no exceptions to that. Listen to this. Those who reach decisions promptly and definitely know what they want, and they generally get it. The leaders in every walk of life decide quickly and firmly. That's the major reason why they're leaders. The world has the habit of making room for the man or woman whose words and actions show they know where they're going. He said indecision is a habit which usually begins in youth. Let's suppose you made a decision to get into the Thinking into Result program that Alpa is leading you in, and nothing that she said worked, and you lost your money. Now ask yourself this question. Do you think you would end up on the street? You know you wouldn't. Do you think you'd starve to death? You know you wouldn't. So the worst thing that can happen isn't going to happen. Then ask yourself, what's the best thing that can happen? Do you know, I just mentioned I started out no formal education, no business experience. I have built a company that operates all over the world, earning millions of dollars, and we are growing every day. I am not an exception. I'm an ordinary guy. But I'm an ordinary guy that has started to study myself. I remember calling on an airline one time, and I talking to them about the air crew, the stewardesses and the stewards. And I said, you know, you spend more money on the outside of their body than you spend on the inside. They spend more money on uniforms than they do on educating the person in who they are. If you make a decision to do this, I guarantee you 6 months from now, you're going to look back and it was the best move you've ever made. The only thing that holds you back is you. The author of this book said the only thing that's holding you back is weak focus and poverty of imagination. You're never too old. I'm 81. I've got more energy than most people 21. I have absolutely no intentions of slowing down. I work all over the world because I have found out that you and I have just enormous reservoirs of talent and ability within us, and we've got to bring them to the surface. The Thinking into Results program was made after about 50 years of research into why we do what we do. Some people say, well, here in Britain it's different. It's not any different in Britain than it is in Shanghai or right here in Los Angeles or where I come from in Toronto. I started, after I read that book, doing anything honest to earn money. I started cleaning floors. Do you know I ended up cleaning floors in Toronto, Montreal, Boston, Cleveland, Atlanta, and in London, England. I had an office in Feltham. I used to clean offices in West London. I have earned millions of dollars cleaning offices. Then I left that business to come into this business because I could see what a little bit of education will do for us. Our image will change, and it will change dramatically. I have dedicated my whole life to helping people understand what they're capable of doing. I've gone into prisons, I've gone into schools, I've gone into corporations all over the world. You have no idea what you have working inside of you. This program, Thinking into Results, teaches you. And don't ask somebody else there what they're going to do. What somebody else is doing has nothing to do with you or me. We just want to go inside and ask ourselves, am I happy with my life the way it is? Would I like it to improve? Would I like to earn more? Would I like to have more friends? Would I like to be excited about how I spend my days? That's what the Thinking into Result program is all about. And Alpa Pandya is very, very qualified in teaching this. She works with our company. She is one of our key people. I got up at 5 o'clock this morning so I could be already here at 7 o'clock because I have to go to a seminar for 9 o'clock. I'm not doing this just because I have nothing to do. I'm doing it because I recognize what Alpa's doing, and I recognize how important this work is. If I can help one of our people, help someone take a look at themselves and realize their real value as a human being, then I'm going to do it. The money and the time that you invest in this program, you will get back for the rest of your life. Following this man, I didn't believe I could have anything I want. When he said that, I didn't believe him. But I believed he believed it. And that's when my life started to change. I teach people now, if you want something, go to someone who has demonstrated by results they know how to get it. And then do exactly what they tell you until you find out they're lying or they don't know what they're talking about. Alpa can show you how to get what you want. Our whole universe operates by law. She understands this. She teaches our material. And we're very proud to associate with her. You will be too as you start studying this program.
Thank you, Bob. I know you're pushed for time, but have we got time for just a couple of questions from people here who may want to ask you?
Sure.
Fantastic. Who's got a question for Bob? Anybody? This is your opportunity. You don't get this, very often. Okay.
Someone once told me that it's better to ask a question and look foolish for 5 minutes than not actually ask it and be foolish for the rest of your life.
So true. It's so true. I think we've got somebody here who wants to ask you something. Samantha.
Hi Bob, good to speak to you. From your cleaning that you were just talking about, the cleaning work you did, was it from there that you launched into what you do to this day?
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you.
From the cleaning work that you were doing, that you just spoke about,
yes.
Was it from that you launched into the work that you're still doing to this day?
No, I was in the cleaning business. I started cleaning offices, and I started listening to Earl Nightingale's recordings and reading these books. And then I started, if somebody complained they couldn't pay their mortgage, I said, I'll help you pay your mortgage. you just come and work with me for an hour a night. And that's how it started. And pretty soon, I worked so hard, I passed out on the street. And I came to one day, there was a great big police officer standing over me, and there was an ambulance with the lights flashing, and I regained consciousness, and I was only probably 27, 28, and I got away from them. They wanted to take me to a hospital, but I was exhausted. I was working too hard. I got away from them, and I realized I was doing something wrong. And it was like a little voice in my head said, if you can't clean all the offices, don't clean any of the offices. So I got all dressed up, and I got other people cleaning offices. And I started to open offices in different cities. I went first to Montreal, then to Boston, then to Cleveland. I always wanted to live in England. So I thought, hell, I'll just go over there and open an office. So I opened an office in Feltham. And I lived in Sunbury-on-Thames. I lived right across the road from Tom Jones when he just started to make it big in Las Vegas. So I was doing that, and one day I realized cleaning was almost incidental to what I was doing. I was helping people wake up. I was helping people realize if they put a little effort here and a little effort there, and if they set goals, they could really have anything they want. So I left that business and I went to Chicago. Now listen to this. I was earning a few $100,000 a year. I quit it and I went and took a job at $18,000. And 5 years later, I was only earning 33. But I went for an education. I went to work with Earl Nightingale in Chicago. And then I left there 5 years later and started my own company. I love this business. I love watching people wake up. I love watching them realize that I can do this, I can do that. You can do anything you want if you just spend time thinking of how you can.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Anybody else got a question for Bob? Okay, we've got two more questions. Is that okay, Bob?
Sure.
Okay, can we get a mic out to Sejul, please?
Hi Bob, I'm actually one of Alpa's students, loving the course. The only thing I wanted to ask is there any times where you felt you were going off track and had to bring yourself back on track whilst you were reading the book and learning everything?
I still do. I still feel that way every now and then. What is your name?
Sej.
Pardon?
Sej. S-E-J. Sej.
Well, think of this for a moment. You and I have a program in our subconscious mind. It's called a paradigm, and it controls our behavior. And the only battle we'll ever have is with that paradigm. We're programmed genetically, that's why we look like our relatives, and then we're programmed environmentally in our little life. If you had been born in another country, you might speak 4 or 5 languages. If you're born in an English-speaking family, you'll probably just speak English. You like the food your parents like. You do the things they do. We're programmed to live the way we live. When we start to study this, we start pulling away from that program. But the program doesn't like to let go of us. So that keeps coming to your mind. You'll have doubts about yourself. You'll start to think, I don't know if I can do this. Just keep on going. I still have those doubts about myself, and I've been studying this for 55 years.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Bob. One more question here, please. Amal, and then we'll go to the lady there. Can I have your name? Sorry.
Hi Bob, my name's Amal. I'm almost at the end of the Thinking Into Results program, and Alpa's been a great mentor. I just had a question about fear. The greater that I've set my goals, the higher I try to achieve, the more powerful the fear is that I have, and it kind of disables me at times. What advice do you have? I think it's the terror barrier from the program, but what advice do you have just to kind of like quickly get myself out? Because I work as a doctor and I have so many hours where I'm at work. I have not much time to get myself out of the fear, and I find myself quite disabled by it at times. What's your advice?
Okay, Joseph Campbell said, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. I'll tell you how I do it. I sing to myself. download Nat King Cole's song, Pretend. Pretend you're happy when you're blue. It isn't very hard to do. And you'll find happiness without an end whenever you pretend. Get songs like that. And when you start to experience fear, start to sing those songs. And what you're going to do, you're going to change the vibration you're in. You're in a negative vibration when you're experiencing fear. Here's a strange thing. Both faith and fear demand that you believe in something you cannot see. If you're going to believe in one, believe in faith. And get into the habit of singing a positive song. There's another one by Johnny Nash. I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. Download some of these songs. And whenever you experience fear, just start singing. You'll feel silly doing it, but do it anyway. And the fear will leave you. The fear is caused because you're going where you've never been. That's what we call the terror barrier. Now you almost finished the course.
Yeah.
Let me correct you. You never finished the course. You've gone through it once. Go back and go through it again. Hubbard one time said, when you read a good book through the second time, you don't see something in it you didn't see before. You see something in yourself that wasn't there before. Your consciousness has expanded. Your awareness has changed.
Thank you. Does that answer your question, Amal?
Yeah.
Great. Okay, final one from Wendy then. If we can just get a mic out to Wendy.
Thank you. Hello, Bob.
Hi.
My question is, earlier you were talking about how the internal creates the external.
Yes.
But what happens if you come across another person whose internal, they are trying to almost force their internal reality upon you?
You're going to have to try that again. I'm having trouble hearing you.
All right. When you have your internal reality that's creating your external reality, how would you personally cope when you come across people who, in attempting to externalise their internal reality, it's almost like they want to shape you with it? I suppose what I'm trying to say is, if you have someone who's got a very, very strong personality, how do you resist being sort of formed by them, as it were?
Make a decision right now that you are not going to let anyone else control your emotional state.
That's it, yeah.
Make an absolute decision. Now, if you have been dominated by other people in the past, it's not an easy thing to change. But I'm going to tell you, the compensation for changing it is incredible.
Yeah.
You've got to be in charge of you.
Yeah.
You must not permit anyone else to control your emotions. You stay in control of you. And if they try, don't let them do it. Don't argue with them. Let them think they're finding their way. But live your own life. I heard Bill Gove one time say, if I want to be free, I've got to be me. Not the me I think you think I should be. Not the me I think my wife thinks I should be. Not the me I think my kids think I should be. If I want to be free, I've got to be me.
Right, okay. Fantastic, thank you.
Thank you so much, Bob, for joining us.
This has been my pleasure. And I want to congratulate each of you for having the wisdom to work with this lady. Alba Panga is very, very bright lady. She's one of our stars. And I'm looking forward to seeing you next month in Toronto.
Yes, I'm looking forward to meeting you again as well.
Well, you know, this information is so precious. And it just keeps getting better and better and better. I could tell you so many stories. And you know, every one of them is when someone decided, I am going to start to take control of my life. Life is very short. It can be absolutely incredible, but it isn't going to be by accident. It's going to be because you decide. Make a decision. Don't ask anybody what they think you're going to do. You think they should think you should do. You make a decision of what you think to do. Tell Alpa, I am doing this. And once you make the decision, the way will be shown. Trust me. Alpa, thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you, Bob. It's a pleasure as always, and all the best for today and tomorrow for Signs of Getting Rich.
Till the morning. Yep.
Take care.
Very good.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Right, there you go. So you've had it from the master there. Alps, can I just ask you to? Okay. So, how did you all feel then with that conversation with Bob? Yeah? Did he answer all your questions? Yeah? He doesn't do that very often, you know. He doesn't do live streams for seminars, external, outside of his own kind of... so we were very, very privileged to have him here today, and it took a lot from me to actually get him on board to come here and do the live stream for us. So I'm eternally grateful to Bob. Right, time-wise, I want you to watch the lesson on self-image. That's what we're going to be doing next, and that's going to take us up to our next break till about 10 to 4, 5 to 4-ish. And then after that, you're going to be hearing from my clients who are here. They're doing the Thinking into Results program. You're going to be hearing about what they think, the results that they've got from it. And also, then we've got another Skype call from a colleague of mine who's based in America as well. He's a self-made millionaire, but at the same time, he's also a consultant of Thinking into Results program. And he's going to talk to you about his story because he was bankrupt imminent. And it was through the Think and Grow Rich book that he has read for the 97th time. His story is very similar to Bob Proctor's. The only difference between Bob and Jim is his name, Jim's story, is that Bob, when things started changing, when he started earning his money, when he became a multimillionaire, if not a billionaire, he wanted to know what had happened. He wanted to know how his life changed. He wanted to know how all of a sudden he started achieving all the success in his life. And that's when he obviously created this program, Thinking into Results, because it was all to do with your paradigms. It was all to do with your mindset. And that's what he figured out. It took him 9 years to figure it all out. And he's put all his knowledge into this program. But with Jim, he didn't care. He didn't care what happened. He didn't want to know what had happened. He was quite happy that he regained his finances and his company was out of bankruptcy. So you're going to be hearing from Jim as well. So that's what's happening after the break. I think what we're going to do then is watch the lesson, and then Alpish, can you hand out the worksheets for us? There is some work for you guys to do. You can take it home as well. I mean, I'm not going to be checking what you're writing and what you're not writing, but this is for you. It's the exercise all to do with becoming a star of your movie and how you do that. And whilst you're watching the video, I will ask you to take notes. You feel free to take notes as well. You've got pens and notepads that the Marriott Hotel have kindly given us. But also make an attempt to fill out the worksheets that you're getting. It will really make you think about you, how you see your life, and how you want to progress further with your life. So do take note. That's why you've got the worksheets.
Hello, this is Sandy Gallagher welcoming you back to the 6th lesson of Thinking into Results. I think a great way to introduce this lesson is with a quote from Maxwell Maltz. He's the author of the best-selling book, Psycho-Cybernetics. And he said this about our topic today: self-image sets the boundaries of individual accomplishment. You know, often we aren't aware of the image that we have of ourselves. And this image influences every part of our life. It controls the way you talk, the way you look, the way you love, the way you dream, everything. And of course, if you have a negative image of yourself, your results are going to be negative. And if you have a limited image of yourself, your results are going to be limited. It's just the way it works. But you can change your image and you can change your world. You're going to learn how to write the script of you. A new you with a new self-image. What do you want to be? What kind of life and career do you see for yourself? What's holding you back? Maybe it's your self-image. I learned how to create the script for myself several years ago. I had to start thinking star and not supporting player. And I remember really vividly sitting down to write the story as if it was already happening in my life. And I had quite a few naysayers that were telling me I was unrealistic, but I stayed with it. I put my screenplay in a safe place and I read it every chance I got. And then one day I decided I'm going to make this happen. And I started investing more in myself and learning who I really was and what my purpose was and just what I was capable of. And now, as I look back on that journal entry, so many of my fantasies are now my reality. So have fun with this lesson for yourself and with your team. You can help your team change its self-image too. Are you ready?
You know, in 1960, Dr. Maxwell Maltz, a cosmetic surgeon, a plastic surgeon, came out with a book called Psycho-Cybernetics. Interesting name, isn't it? Psyche being Greek for mind, cybernetics being the science of control and communication in the animal and in some machine. Now, what do we mean by that? Well, what we're really saying is, you've got a control mechanism in your mind. And it's going to determine what comes into your life, and it's going to determine how well you do whatever you do. We refer to it as an image. It's a self-image. You see, Dr. Maxwell Maltz was doing cosmetic surgery on people. Maybe they had a huge bump on their nose or a distasteful scar in their face. And he would remove this or build a nice little nose, whatever that is, or he would remove the scar, and he noticed that there was quite a difference in the person's appearance. But he also noticed sometimes there was a great psychological change. They not only looked different, they felt and acted different. But he said this didn't always happen. He said sometimes, regardless of how successful the physical operation might have been, there was no psychological change. And this led him to postulate that we have two images. We have the one that we project to the world. It's the way we dress, walk, talk, comb our hair, do whatever we do. And the other is the picture that we hold inside. Now, ultimately, the picture that we hold inside definitely shows on the outside. You see, if you have a negative or a bad image of yourself, your results are going to be a reflection of it. Your results are always a reflection of what's going on inside. Now, this image is built, well, it's built genetically, it's passed along in the genes, and then it's built in your little life to a very large degree. A child that's raised with praise grows up to be a very confident adult. A child that's raised with criticism grows up to be a very insecure human being. Now, the confident individual has an understanding of who they are, of the dynamics of their personality, their spirituality. They understand the power of their mind. They understand something about themselves, and they like themselves. They have a good opinion of themselves, or you could say they have a good image. The person that doesn't understand themselves, that is super critical of themselves, that feels inferior, that person has a poor image. Now, regardless of what image we hold, I am of the opinion we upon it. I was creating a program. I am working on a program right now. I have taught it a couple of times. It's called Your Spiritual DNA is Perfect. It requires no modification. It requires no improvement. You see, right at the center of your consciousness is an image of perfection. I am totally in agreement with the idea that you and I have been created in God's image. We have marvelous creative faculties, but they're so buried in virus code and in false concepts that it's only on a rare occasion that that perfection sees the light of day. It's our responsibility to get rid of those paradigms, get rid of those viruses, get rid of those insecurities, those doubts about ourselves, so that the perfection shines through. Now, how do we do this? Well, I found that the more you study you, the better the image you're going to have of yourself. And that image is vitally important. It's It operates much like a thermostat in a room. It controls the temperature of the room. Or it operates like the automatic pilot on a plane or on a rocket. Do you know it's been stated that a rocket feels its way to the moon? There's a cybernetic mechanism. And the second it goes off course, the cybernetic mechanism brings it back on course. Well, if the room temperature happens to drop from, let's say, 70 degrees down to 66, it's in the north and it's cold outside, the thermostat will pick up the deviation from that set goal. It sends a message to the furnace, the fire and the fan's turned on until the room temperature is brought back under control at 70 degrees. Someone must have left the front door open and the cold air blew in. We close the door, we don't have to do anything. The thermostat will automatically activate the furnace, activate the fan, bring the room temperature back to 70 degrees. Let's say a pilot leaves Chicago, Illinois, and the flight plan is to take them to LAX or Los Angeles International Airport. Well, the automatic pilot is set, and that plane is flying on course for LAX. Now, if it gets hit some big turbulence, it'll get knocked off course, but the cybernetic mechanism brings it right back on course. And it's off course, back on, off course, back on course. Well, you see, you and I have a self-image. And when we deviate from that, it brings us right back on course again. Let's suppose a person has a fat image, and they're going to go on a diet. Your subconscious mind is programmed to find whatever you lose. They lose 10 pounds. You know what the cybernetic mechanism does? Brings them right back on course again. They'll find the 10 pounds. Let's suppose it's a salesperson. And the salesperson is selling, let's say, $100,000 of whatever it is a month. About $1 million to a year in sales. And let's suppose their sales happens to drop off one month to about 70,000. Do you know the next month it'll bring it right back on course. They'll probably go up to 130. But it'll bring them back on course. At the end of the year, they'll have their $1 million too. Let's suppose a person's income is $50,000 a year, and something happens to knock it down to 30. It'll bring it right back to 50. Now, this is almost like magic if you don't understand it. But when you do understand it, it makes an awful lot of sense. You see, in your subconscious mind, part of your paradigm is an image of yourself. It controls the way you walk, it controls the way you talk, it controls the way you meet and greet other people. This image of ourself literally controls our life. When Maltz came out with this idea, it was considered the greatest psychological discovery of his generation. All kinds of lives were changed from that book. In fact, you might want to get the book, Psycho-Cybernetics, by Dr. Maxwell Maltz. It's a phenomenal book. Great information in it. Now, how do we change our self-image? Well, first of all, we have to understand that we have an image in our subconscious mind. In fact, our life operates by images. Think about this. Corporations have images. Coca-Cola, for example. If you get on an airplane and you take a look at a menu, if you're sitting in the front of the plane, they give you a menu, and you look at it, and they'll have under drinks, tea, coffee, milk, and then Coca-Cola is in that logo type. You know the script, Coca-Cola? It's never just a plain font, the same as everything else. They always have the logo type. Corporations build an image. In fact, there's companies that do nothing but help companies develop an image. Starbucks has an image. We call it branding now. But really what it is, it's an image. It's an image that's planted in the mind of people. Well, every person has an image. Now, your results are a reflection of your image. If you don't like your results, you can change your image. I have changed my image on 3 or 4 occasions. How do we do it? Well, this is where we put our mind to work. We put our conscious mind to work, and we consciously and deliberately choose the kind of person we want to be. You see, all the rest of the little creatures operate by instinct, which is perfect. And they blend in with their environment. We've got the ability to alter our environment. So we can sit down with our intellect and we can start thinking, what do I really want to be like? Now, what I generally do, I'll pick people I know that have qualities in their personality or in their character that I really admire. I'm not copying the person, just that particular character trait. And I'll build that into it, and I see myself being that way. In fact, I watched Bill Gove, and I watched Billy Graham, and I watched Earl Nightingale communicating with large audiences for years. And much of what they did is built into my presentation. It's built into my image of myself. So we sit down and we write out a description in the present tense. And we do that. That's an exercise of our intellect, our conscious mind. And then we will take that and we totally relax and we start to see ourselves as that person. This is called imagined reality. It's the actor's technique. We act as if. And we literally become that person. Watch movies. I watched 2 movies. They've been around for a long time now. Patton, George C. Scott in Patton, and Lawrence of Arabia with Peter O'Toole and Omar Sharif. Their acting was incredible. And as you watch it, you realize they took a script. They read the script. They reread the script. They memorized the script. They internalized the script. They became the script. Well, that's what you want to do. See, most people are extras in their own movie. They see other people and they think they're the star and I'm just in the supporting cast, or I may just have a walk-on. Make yourself the star of your movie. Your movie is your life. And sit down and build the picture and then totally relax and let yourself become that. And do that often. You may do it a few times a day. It only takes a few minutes. And totally relax. When I'd drive in a car, I'd see myself speaking at a convention to a large audience, totally relaxed, communicating effectively. Get Stella Adler's book, The Art of Acting. It's a phenomenal book. Stella Adler was one of the greatest acting teachers in the world. She taught Marlon Brando. Marlon Brando wrote the foreword in her book. The book was actually written by a man, I think his name's Kissel. He took all of her lessons, which were all transcribed, and he put them in a book. So when you read The Art of Acting, it's like you're in her class. And you're learning how to act the way you want to act. Live the life you want to live. Write your own script. The image that is fixed in your subconscious mind is how the rest of the world will see you. No one can alter your image for you, but you can alter it. You can begin living the life you really want to live. I used to be unhappy, sick, and broke. Now I'm happy, healthy, wealthy. That is not an accident. I created that. Now you'll understand why Dr. Maxwell Maltz said this was the greatest psychological discovery of his generation. He has helped literally millions upon millions of people through his great work with psycho-cybernetics. There is a science of control and communication locked up in you. It's your self-image. It's the image you hold of you. It controls how you walk, how you talk, how you meet and greet the world. Build a better image. See yourself as everything you're supposed to be. You know, Steve Bowe, who was a VP with Metropolitan Life one time, he said, God's gift to us is more talent and ability than we'll ever hope to use in our lifetime. Our gift to God is to develop as much of that talent and ability as we can in this lifetime. The wisest scientist cannot even guess at what you're capable of doing. There's something wonderful about you. Get in touch with it. Hold that picture. Become that person. I'm not talking about conceit. I'm talking about a healthy, conscious awareness of who and what you are. Be good to yourself. If you're not, no one else will be. Get to love yourself. Wake up and kiss yourself. There's something really powerful about you. See it. That's your self-image. I want you to think of this for a moment. Let's suppose that we bring a group of people together, 5, 6, maybe 8 or 10 people, who all have a very powerful self-image and who really understand the truth about their personality. They don't compete, they create. And they come together as a team. They would understand that the team has an image. Just the same as a corporation has an image, an individual has an image, so does a team. And the team that comes together in a corporation, or even in sport, and they build a powerful image, that team cannot be beaten because they're not competing, they're creating. They become a very powerful force. Just as when you hook a bunch of batteries together, you've got a lot more power. When you hook a group of people together, you've got a lot more power. We talk about this in another message on masterminding. But let's just keep it with a team right now. There's a team of people working together in your accounting department. There's a team of people working together out in the tool crib. There's a team of people working together in the sales department. See, a corporation is made up of departments. And departments are made up of groups of people. Now, I want you to imagine that you've got a team of people or a group of people, and some have a good image and some have a very inferior image. And some are very competitive and some are not. You've got a fractionized team there. You've got a team that just isn't going to go anywhere. One person's going this way, one's going that way. You haven't got a team at all. You've just got a group of people together that verbally say they're working on the same project, but they're not working together. There's nothing created. There's nothing accomplished. You know, some companies are made up of groups like this. Those companies never get very far, and ultimately, they probably go out of business. But the small company that comes together and they understand this concept, and they create an environment that's conducive to the unfoldment and the development of powerful teams, those companies just keep growing. They grow all over the world. And we're living in a global marketplace today. So do you see, if you want to grow, if you want to keep going, you've got to have powerful teams in a company. If you want to grow as a person, you need a powerful team helping you. I'm talking just on a social level. You want to mix with people who understand this concept. Understand this. Amateurs compete. Professionals create. You have creative faculties. You have creative potential. There's a power flowing to and through you. And when you bring a group of people together in a spirit of harmony, you have one of the most powerful forces in the entire world. And they're all working towards one objective. That objective is preordained. It's going to happen just as sure as it can start tonight. So if you're on a team, and there's people on the team that don't understand this concept, take a few minutes and share it with them. Tell them about the power of self-image. Sit down and explain it. Now you've got to understand it if you're going to do that. I had a great teacher one time tell me, Bob, you don't understand anything until you can explain it to someone else so that they understand it. So you understand it yourself and then take it on as your responsibility to help everybody understand it the same way. Because it's only when you're all operating with the same understanding that you come together. You see, you bring two people together, and you got 11, haven't you? Multiply, it compounds. That's called compound power. And you've got the ability to do that. There is nothing like a powerful creative team. Do you know what it does? It turns work into fun. And it gives results that really count. You accomplish a lot more in a short period of time, and you have a lot more fun. You'll be anxious to get back at it. And that's living. Everything else is dying. Just like everything in the universe, there is a basic law that says create or disintegrate. So what the team's doing is creating or it's disintegrating. You make certain that you're going to be the member of the team that helps everybody understand this. And if you happen to see a person wandering off course, maybe they have a personal problem, you might suggest that you go and have a cup of coffee, just sort of a casual basis, or have lunch together. And sit down and get talking to them and get them to share their problem with you. See, a person won't share a problem with you until they feel you have the solution to their problem. Be a knowledgeable person. Make up your mind you're going to help every member of the team become a better member of the team. And you know what that'll make you? A wonderful member of the team. Make sure your team has power. And that is going to be determined by the image of the team. Everybody has the same image. We are a powerful, creative group of people, all working towards the same objective. Powerful idea makes powerful teams. Powerful teams make great companies. Great companies compensate their people in a very, very abundant manner. Think about it.